JP was on his way to major shoulder surgery. He had been doing boot camp, playing squash, and staying generally active, but his shoulder was so painful from sitting behind a desk that he couldn't put his arms behind his head, and he was on his way to frozen shoulder. As a 57-year-old father and former business owner, he was also feeling his age taking a toll on his body. So he found a coach and started working on his shoulder and overall health. What he got was a lot more than he bargained for. In this video, you'll find out what happened to his frozen shoulder, how mobility is different than therapy, why eating more can help you get in better shape, and the most important thing to remember when you get started. But first, I wanted to know this. So you had kind of like a routine was a little bit all over the place, kind of catch as catch can.
Yeah.
Did you have like specific goals, or was it just like, hey, I'm just moving around to stay in shape?
I think it was more, on the fitness level, it was more the latter. It was kind of more just, I couldn't make it a top priority to kind of hit new goals. I just couldn't. I just didn't have the time to do it. I couldn't be consistent. You know, it was the travel industry, so travel was part of it, and that's really not good for your fitness routine. And
rough,
you know, so it was more just trying to kind of do the minimum and keep my head above water, sort of on the fitness side of things. And I think actually, I didn't realize how bad it was because I spent a lot of time, like many people, sitting in front of a computer. And there was a point in time where I started getting shoulder problems. Like first in one shoulder, like I'd realized like when I was getting dressed in the morning just to put my arm in like, you know, the sleeve of the shirt and be like, wow, that kind of hurts, and I was like, that's strange. And that actually got worse and worse. And what was happening, but I didn't realize I was kind of moving in the direction of something known as frozen shoulder. Maybe you've heard about this, where there was some kind of positive feedback cycle that was going on in my shoulder where my mobility was getting worse. I think the geometry was a little bit messed up. There was like a muscle that was being irritated by the bone or something. And so then my mobility would be more limited. So my shoulders are coming forward, and then it just kind of spins. Yeah, exactly. So,
was that the thing, or was there something that said, okay, I need to do something about this? Was there some sort of moment where you're like, now it's time?
What that triggered for me, unfortunately, was like a lot of physical therapy to avoid surgery. It was like at that level first. It was just like, I really don't want a surgeon cutting my shoulder open. And then weirdly, as one shoulder started to get better, the other shoulder started to get worse. I understand that's not all that uncommon. And I think it was just lifestyle issues. So no, that wasn't really what triggered me deciding to come here. I think it was one of those things where I didn't know enough. I didn't know about joint mobility, really. And I think a lot of people don't. Like, I didn't realize how my lifestyle was affecting me. And I thought that, okay, I'm doing this boot camp stuff. Push-ups hurt, so I can't really do that, but I'm doing my sit-ups and I just saw myself as having kind of injured shoulders. And so I'd do what I could do and go to physical therapy, hoping that would eventually cure the shoulder issue, which it did, but I think I was always at risk of having more shoulder injuries.
Right.
So, and I have to say, even when I started here, and you guys started talking about joint mobility, then I started to realize like how bad it was. And I had noticed before that I couldn't put a barbell on my back.
Yeah.
Which to me was really strange because I remember being younger. It's like if I went to a gym and I wanted to do some back squats, which I did at a very recreational level, didn't really know what I was doing, but it was just not even something I had to think about, putting a barbell on my back. And all of a sudden it's like, why can I not get my hands back there? So you guys did an evaluation and I just realized how much room for improvement there was.
Yeah.
And so that was really big. And I still at that point, of course, didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I thought maybe I've just got these issues and, as I get older, I'm going to have to work on this. But the results I've had here on the mobility front have just completely exceeded my expectations. And I've just learned a lot about how important that is.
Yeah. So it wasn't like some like, you all of a sudden you couldn't walk upstairs or whatever. I mean, you did have some shoulder issues, but it was more this process of kind of exploring that led you here.
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of like a continuous improvement sort of guy, and it's like, I'm just realistic about where I'm at, and trying to, achieve that life balance and accomplish different goals. And I think, as we all get older, to me, it seems that we have to work harder, to stay in shape and to be healthy.
Yep.
And I did have that period in my life you talked about where it's like, okay, I can devote a little bit more time and energy to this, but it was coming out of COVID, and there weren't a lot of options, actually.
Yeah.
The ice chamber had shut down, as I think by then, before COVID. And during COVID, I don't know, doing online videos and things like that.
Yeah, it wasn't as good.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't as good. So yeah, really happy to find this place.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, when you get older, there's certain things that get easier. It's like, for example, like earning money. It's like, okay, at the beginning, you're like, I just want to find any kind of thing. And then as you get older, you're like, oh, this is how it works, right?
Yeah.
You figure all this stuff out, and, you figure out like some routines and things like that. But then there are other things like fitness that can get harder, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you have to put more work into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing that kind of led me to this place, and I should give Laura credit too, because we're in this together, as you know,
Yeah.
and she did a lot of research, and it's just becoming aware. Like you've probably heard statistics about how much muscle mass and strength you lose per year on average over, say, age 40,
Yeah.
if you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And it's alarming, and it's real. You can feel it. I was feeling it. And so, we both became aware that's like, this is kind of a component of our health that we're not really doing anything about, and
Yeah.
we really should.
Yeah.
And so this has been perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was it like when you first walked in here? Were you scared? Like, you've been to places like this before,
Yeah.
so some of it was familiar, but what was that like?
I'd say I came in, if anything, slightly overconfident in terms of what I could do, and then I was quickly humbled by Coach Rebecca when she put me through that baseline fitness test.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't done a test like that. And so I thought, okay, I can go at this rowing hard, and I'll have plenty of energy to do the rest of this stuff. And I saw her; she had this kind of knowing smile as I was, doing this great time on the rower.
Yeah.
And then I just got completely crushed. I mean, I practically, crawled through the last
Yeah.
the last steps. And but no, overall, I was just very impressed with just looking at the gym, the setup. Like, it looks to me like a real no nonsense place. I like the equipment setup. I like that there were sort of heavy weights. I like that it didn't look like, kind of a, one of those gyms that just has all different kinds of machines, which I find to be a lot more limiting in terms of what they do for you.
Right.
And the biggest thing too is just the coaching. That became clear right away, like the quality of the coaching, because I also just realized I'm a person. It's like I don't know how to do a clean and jerk, or a snatch properly. I don't know that, and I have had injuries, shoulder injuries, and other injuries, and I also know the consequences of it taking 12 or 18 months to be able to do whatever exercise without pain again.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want those setbacks, and so to have somebody who really knows what they're doing say, okay, we're going to learn how to do a snatch today, but to do it properly, I saw is really important. And so I could see right away that you have that, and it seems exceptional to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like immediately you're like, okay, this is the place.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point did you start to see some sort of progress? Like, you're like, yes, okay, this is working.
Almost immediately.
Really?
And I'd say the biggest thing, it was the mobility stuff. I had to have sort of like, I'd call them like sort of cheats at the beginning to sort of like deal with certain things, like for example, racking a barbell on my back. I couldn't put my hands back there, so Coach Rebecca had like these straps that I would use.
Yeah, I remember that.
But then I just started right away just working on that. Heidi gave me some tips.
Yeah.
And just going through these various mobility routines, which I was pretty diligent about, because I could see right away, it's like, this is working. Like it exposed the limitations that I had,
Yeah.
which were fairly significant. And it was very satisfying, because I think, within a few weeks I could say, okay, this is improving. Like, just I could see little bits of improvement.
How bad was your shoulder? Were you like, you couldn't put a barbell on your back, but could you put your arm over your head? Like, I remember you were struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is, like, sometimes like you want to like lay down in the grass or something and just relax and put your hands behind your head like this, look up at the sky or whatever.
Yeah.
And I noticed like I couldn't do that comfortably. And I was thinking, yeah, that's unfortunate. Is that the way it is for everybody at age, 50, whatever?
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe not, but I really did kind of want to address that. And yeah, that stuff's a distant memory now. So not that there's not more work to do.
Yeah. So it was like a lot of pain leading towards frozen shoulder.
Yeah.
We did some movements, barbell, that kind of thing, but you kind of referenced the mobility work. So like, what kinds of things would you be doing to fix that? Like, were you, stretching 3 hours a day? Like, what was that?
No, that's what was nice about it too. It was more like, 20 minutes a day, something like that. So big ones for me, that sort of T-spine, kind of work.
Yeah.
With lacrosse ball. So also, doing sort of like snow angel type movements. External rotation of my shoulder, that was like a really big limitation. So, Heidi showed me different things with like light weights, or just trying to go up against a wall and work on being able to keep my back flat on the wall and put my knuckles, back against the wall, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So she did an evaluation, kind of figured out what was happening, and gave you like 4 or 5 exercises that you can do.
Exactly, and also sent me links to videos.
Yeah.
Super helpful, so you can, because you kind of get it, but then if you keep doing it day after day, sometimes I find, at least for me, like my routine can sort of maybe morph sort of in the wrong direction, and I can revisit the video and say, oh yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to think about, you know. So
and so you would do that every single day?
Yeah, I was doing that every day.
And
but not for a long time. Like I said, 20 minutes probably.
Yeah. And how long before you were able to, like, rest on the grass or put the barbell on your back?
I'd say within, meaningful progress within 2 or 3 months.
Right, that's pretty good.
And I would say by like 6 months or so, like I remember coming into the gym just to do a class, and Heidi hadn't seen me for a while, and she watched me just, I don't know, I think we're just pressing dumbbells overhead, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe how much progress you've made,
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was really nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny thing, a lot of people come in here, goal is to like lose weight, get stronger or whatever, but actually a surprisingly large amount of people have some sort of thing like that, which is like either they've had some injury that they've had surgery for, or they have something that's just painful that they know that if they don't do something about it, there's going to be surgery or shots or whatever. And when you go to physical therapy or you go to the doctor, they don't really offer you that much. It's like, we'll cut this open, we'll give you a shot, or we'll have you do like months and months and months of physical therapy.
Yeah.
And the whole goal of that stuff is to just make you not feel pain. But not feeling pain is temporary. Okay, great. I don't feel pain, and then 2 months later, I go back to my normal life, and then guess what? You feel pain again.
Yeah.
And so it's what we talk about a lot is this idea of when you go beyond just feeling okay and trying to focus on performing, getting stronger, doing something with that joint, then you tend to not worry about the pain anymore because now you have sort of a bigger goal. Right. And then that pain kind of goes away. I won't say forever, but like it goes away for the long term. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, and I think also the community here, the coaches, but also the other athletes, as I said, I found it humbling in a way because it's just it's impressive what a lot of people can do, and and I recognize it, like with everything in life, there are people who are going to be worse than you and people that are going to be better than you, and so when you watch other people hit these higher and higher levels, for me, it just inspires me to say, okay, it's like if I can just get a little bit better every day, I can move in that direction. I like that your gym has people of all ages and all athletic abilities.
Yeah.
And the coaches are really good about taking everybody from where they're at. Here's where you're at today. Okay. And here are the things that are kind of achievable, in the near term, and just keep moving things forward like that. So I think the feel of this place and the philosophy is really good in the quality of the coaching.
The thing that's really cool, I tell everyone this, is like the thing you don't know is that almost every single person came in just like you. Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone has different backgrounds or whatever.
Yeah.
But like we don't have Division I college athletes, or like former pro football players that are coming in here. They're just like regular people with jobs, or they own businesses, they have kids, they're just like, hey, I'd like to get in a little better shape. And the thing is, like, when you see them over time, 2 years down the line, 4 years down the line, we have some folks that have been here for 10 years and they're just completely different people. And it's like they've grown almost younger over the course of that time.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people that, because it's like, it is intimidating sometimes to walk in here and see people doing just insane things that you've never seen before.
Right.
But when you remember, like, yeah, they couldn't do a push-up when they first started. They couldn't put their shoulder over their head.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm guarantee you, JP, there's people walking in that are thinking about you, like, man, look at this guy. He's doing all of this stuff. He's got kids, and he's a lecturer. Like, that's what people think. But ultimately, like, where you start is not, it's not where you end, right? So, what was the hardest part for you?
The hardest part of being here?
Yeah, like when you started, what was the biggest sort of challenge?
Well, there were certain movements, like with the classes, that when I started, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Let's like front rack, for example. I just couldn't do it, and it's such an important part of Olympic lifting, as you know. And sometimes, depending on what we're doing in the class, and so the coaches are very good again about like providing alternatives. I got a lot of personal attention at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I was encouraged to go to class when people felt that I was ready.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, we're going to be doing this one thing that you may not be able to do, and kind of here's an alternative movement. And so for me, that was just like, it was motivating and frustrating at the same time. It's like, I want to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I would push, but sometimes that, involved like a little bit of pain or awkwardness, or you could, just discomfort. It's like, this didn't feel right. And so, I just had to work through that. So, So it was hard. It wasn't like super hard, but it wasn't comfortable. Let's put it that way. But I think it's just part of the process of pushing yourself and accepting your own limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember you have a tendency to want to push yourself.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think it's a patience thing too.
Yeah.
Patience has never been my best thing, but these things do take time. You just have to just work on it bit by bit. I wanted to do it right away, but I couldn't. So, yeah. And if you push yourself too hard, then you're at risk of re-injury. I know that. And so, but it's, since I've been here, there've been some little blips and ups and downs, and I think that's normal. I mean, every time I talk to you or any other coach, it's like injuries are part of life, and that happens sometimes. Yeah. But what I can say for me is that my overall trajectory on that front has been up. Yeah. Yeah. In a really good way. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like injuries or pain is really just feedback. Like, okay, am I doing this right? Oh, I feel this pain. What's going wrong? Yeah. Let me get an evaluation and talk to Heidi. Oh, it turns out, you're turning your foot out when you walk, and that's impacting your knee because your hip is tight. Yeah. Let's work on your hip. Yeah. It's also, as a business owner, or, you kind of know, like, there's a way to look at problems. Like, every business has problems, but actually when you think about problems, they're just situations. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're just solving things all the time. Yeah. And, you can look at pain the same way. It's like, is this a problem? Mm-hmm. If you look at it as a problem, then you're just like, I have to slap a solution on it. Mm-hmm. Or is it just feedback? Is it just a situation? Okay, cool. If I want to keep moving forward, then I'm going to have to handle this situation.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And you just hope the feedback isn't too harsh. Like
Yeah.
something that you're going to be dealing with for like a year or something like that.
Yeah. It's
And
just like, how much time is this going to take?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is this a 2-week situation or a 2-year situation?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your nutrition. Did you make any changes to?
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing too, because when I showed up here, I'm a person, my weight stays fairly steady within a range, but I think what happens is when I get more out of shape, I lose muscle mass, and then I just gain a little bit of fat in different places, probably around my belly, would be the biggest thing. And then I get in shape. So my if I get more in shape, just more strength, more muscles. So when I showed up, I didn't have a goal of losing weight particularly. I just wanted to get in shape. But I did have this feeling before being here that I shouldn't overeat. That's just not going to be good. And what was kind of a shock is when you and others told me that, I should be consuming more calories. And that's going to help me build muscle. And so when I went into the nutrition program and was given kind of macro targets and got like an app that helped me track, it was a really interesting exercise. Because, I was being told like eat a lot more, and especially a lot more protein than I had in the past. And I think it did help me make some real strength gains, but I thought, okay, I'm just going to balloon up. I'm going to gain like 10 pounds, 20 pounds. I'm just like stuffing myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually. I gained like 5 pounds, and then it just like stopped.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a nice discovery, because what I've realized is as long as I stay physically active, I'm doing the weightlifting or exercising, I can eat more. I should probably eat more than I previously thought I should.
Yeah.
And that's been a good thing.
So it's interesting. I was just looking at this. Yeah, you've gained exactly 5 pounds.
Okay.
It was 193 to 198.
Yeah.
Right. And but your body fat went down by 1.5%.
Yeah.
So like you gained weight, but you didn't gain body fat.
Yeah.
Or you actually lost body fat.
Yeah.
So you lost 2 pounds of body fat. You've gained 4 pounds of muscle. And 7 pounds of basically lean body mass.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not a bad place to be.
and I eat probably more, and I don't place these restrictions on myself that I did in the past.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Yeah, interestingly, like your sort of, we call it basal metabolic rate, like the amount of food that you can eat has gone up since you started. So you've been eating more, you've been losing fat, you gained a little bit of weight. Now you can continue to eat more.
Yeah.
Which is, this is a message I can't stress enough for people. It's like, if you lift weights, then it kind of, it starts to solve for all the other things, right? It's like, you can actually eat more, now it's depending, right? Like you want to eat more protein and things like that.
Right.
But like, as you get older, people sort of think you tend to just eat less. And to some extent you can, but if you continue to do that, you'll lose muscle mass. And then when you get to be 80, you're not able to get out of a chair or climb upstairs.
Yeah.
Right. And it's actually important that you keep that stuff.
Yeah.
My mom is 72. She's gonna be 73 this year. I was asking her the other day what her goals are this year. She's like, eat more protein.
Okay.
And it's like, it doesn't change, because she sees all of her friends. She's in better shape than any of them.
Yeah.
And she sees what is going to happen if she doesn't continue that. Yeah. So I have a few other kind of results for you here. So specifically, I was looking at some of the weights. So the first recorded back squat I have was in 2022, September, of 155.
Okay.
And now you're at 265. So that was actually much earlier this year. I feel like you might have lifted more since then.
I haven't worked on back squats for a while. It's one of the things I love about this place too. Is just like there's so many different things to work on.
Yeah.
So So I don't know. I might have hit 275 one time. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. So your bench press when you started was 75, and it probably hurt. Now it's 195. That was a couple months ago. Deadlift went from 125 to 305. You added 200 pounds to your deadlift, man. And you were not in bad shape when you started.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of that you've accomplished since you've been here?
I am proud of the strength gains. And I would put deadlift and back squat up there because and that I'm doing them properly too, is a big deal, because I think I didn't know what I was doing at first. And I feel much stronger. And, again, for me, like, the mobility is like a really big deal. It affects me, every day. So I just feel like I'm just in better shape. I just feel healthier, with everything that I do. So, So I don't know if I can point to one thing, but I'm proud of all of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's another thing that I'm working on right now too, which is like, I find sometimes I never felt like I was the person somebody would look at me and say, okay, that's an example of a perfect clean and jerk or something like that. Like, there's just so much to that. And, and I look at the coaches here and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I hope to get there someday. And so it's like, I've hit those numbers. My numbers have improved a lot, but I also feel like form and technique matters a lot. And when you work on those, like, I find it keeps my mind active. For me, it's so much more enjoyable than just going for a long run or doing 100 burpees or something like that. To be able to think about that and improve my technique. And so it's like I almost sometimes want to go lighter in the weight and try and really nail the technique. And then go heavier again, and which I think will allow me to ultimately go heavier. So that's kind of what I'm working on now, and I feel like I've got a long way to go. When I look at somebody who does something really well, it's like I've once again find myself inspired. It's like, okay, I'd like to be able to do a front squat to that depth comfortably or whatever, and so just keep working on those things.
That's funny, actually. I remember it was probably 4 or 5 months ago I saw you squatting, and I was like, man, like, your squat looks great compared to what it used to look like.
Yeah. So just keep making progress, and I realize, like, as we get older, you can't always improve. You know what I mean? It's like I can't quite expect that, I'm going to be 90 years old someday and back squatting more than hitting new PRs.
Yeah.
But like, just kind of making this progress at this age is very satisfying, and that'll always be my goal, is just get a little bit better, and it's working. So I'm just going to keep doing that.
That's one of the secrets we never tell anyone about. There's so many things to do that you just never get bored. So you're always wanting, so you're going to get those things, and you're like, okay, I wonder if I can get a chest to bar pull up. You'll start doing those kind of things. And then you're going to look around. I mean, you're still early in this journey. This is year 2, right?
That's right.
Yeah. You're going to look around sometime. You probably already do it. You're going to look around sometime in the next 2 years and go, I'm in the best shape of anyone I know my age. Right?
Yeah.
At least, outside of this place.
Yeah.
And that's, and it's not like this intentional, like, I'm going to be in the best shape. You're just continuing to work.
Yeah. I was noticing the other day, we were working on cleans with Coach Rebecca, and she was breaking it down into each little segment, of the movement, and just having us, repeat things to try and develop that muscle memory. And there's just so much to think about with each little piece. And then as you try and put it all together, and so the whole time I was just really focused on technique. I wasn't really thinking so much about the amount of weight that I was doing or strength. But then I was shocked, like 2 days later or a day later, I was like, wow, I'm like, my muscles are really sore, like all of them, all of them, from doing that. And I didn't even really realize how, much benefit actually was my entire body was experiencing, because I was just focused on the mental aspect. But then afterwards, I realized that was a really good whole body workout. Just getting that bar moving and getting into the right position. But I wasn't noticing it at the time, which was really nice.
That's one of the reasons we love Olympic lifting. I mean, it's so technical. It's very difficult, and nobody ever really masters it. But it just incorporates so many different aspects of fitness that most people ignore. You don't, like, people go out for a run, but people don't go out and do clean and jerks.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you can combine the sort of strength and the coordination and the power and the agility and all the other stuff, it's like it covers a whole bunch of stuff that most people don't do on a daily basis. So that's awesome. All right, so last question. Actually, I have two more questions. One more is, what results have you seen outside of the gym? Like, part of what we think about here is how does being in shape, how does feeling like you're growing, physically help you outside of the gym? Have you seen anything like that?
I mean, I think I just feel better. I've got kids who are mostly in their 20s. They like to go, kick a soccer ball around or throw a frisbee or, wrestling and stuff like that. I just feel a lot stronger and better, and that's really satisfying. But it's even just like the silly, like, day-to-day things, just like, I don't know, walking through buildings and opening doors, and if you have to move some furniture around and all that stuff, I just feel stronger and better and less pain.
Yeah.
So I think I think my posture's improved, which is kind of a nice thing, and I think that's probably what some people notice. I've definitely had friends of mine and say, "Oh, you look a lot stronger," and I said, "Oh, you should try out Hale Fitness, actually."
Yeah.
They've been really good. Yeah, but yeah, so that's happened as well. So no, I just feel good.
Awesome. All right, so last question.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who is on the outside kind of looking in, like you of, more than 2 years ago? What advice would you give them?
I would say it's very worth giving Hale Fitness a try, first and foremost because of the quality of the coaching. I'd say it's a really good organization. I'd say it's a really nice, welcoming community as well. And I would say, you may not want to underestimate, the consequences of not doing, like, weightlifting or something with heavy weights as you get older. Like, that's a key component of fitness and dealing with the consequences of aging. And there are a lot of things you can do. You can go for a run, you can ride a bike, you can do more of a boot camp style workout, but you're not really going to get the same benefit as trying to back squat 270 pounds or or whatever. And so that there's some fairly unique benefits, when you look at the options around you of going to a place like that, because you wouldn't want to also just go to a gym where they just have the weights and just do it on your own.
Right.
That you're going to put yourself at risk. And so to get that combination of having the equipment there, having the classes available, and the variety of the workouts, I think is also a really, really big thing, to keep things interesting and because I think a lot of people too, it's like, it's easy to get into a routine and say, okay, I do this, that, and, do 3 different things, and that's my routine. And I think when you do that, you don't realize all the different muscle groups and elements of fitness that are being missed. Right. But if you come to a place like this, you're just going to get that variety at all times, and there are always people around you that you can learn from.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome, JP. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I know it's valuable. I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
I appreciate you too. It's a fantastic organization that you've created. Really, really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're a part of it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, we've got plenty of others. Go check out this one over here.